we say a healthy good morning to one and all. Hope everyone is doing A-OK on this lovely Tuesday morning. And those of you listening via Classic Radio, those of you viewing via GBN TV, hope you're having an A-OK morning thus far. Those of you via social media platforms, good morning to you. Hope you're doing A-OK also. And certainly up and about and doing your chores, even though you're listening to the radio or you're probably wherever you are, probably at your work desk, but you got the television on and you're viewing GBN TV. Good morning to you, or via your computer. Those of you via social media platforms, also blessed morning to you. It's Opposition Tuesday today on today's edition of To The Point, of course, but today's edition will be a slight twist with it. We don't have anyone actually coming in studio representing the opposition today. However, we will have a rebroadcast of the opposition response to the 2026 budget, what was presented in Parliament last week. And of course, we have the opposition response, of course, this morning on today's edition. So we now go over and, of course, have the opposition response for today. That will, of course, be the process in which our program will go ahead today, folks. So take a note of that as we go over.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Members of this honorable House, fellow Grenadians at home and abroad, I rise today, Mr. Speaker, with a deep sense of urgency, a profound sense of purpose, and an unwavering commitment to our people.
Member, I made one error. I didn't tell you how much time you have. So let me just inform you that you have 2 hours and 29 minutes. You need to know as you present. Yeah? Thank you.
I timed him myself, Mr. Speaker. So I rise today, Mr. Speaker, with a deep sense of urgency, a profound sense of purpose, and an unwavering commitment to our people. As I discharge my duty in responding to the 2026 estimates of revenue and expenditure, Mr. Speaker, I stand anchored in gratitude to Almighty God for His unwavering faithfulness, which is captured by the prophet Jeremiah in Lamentations 3:22-23, and I quote, "The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is His faithfulness." Mr. Speaker, in these challenging and uncertain times, this truth grounds me. It sustains our nation and it renews our hope. Mr. Speaker, a national budget is not just a collection of numbers. It is a moral document. It should speak to the lives of our people, their struggles, their hopes, and indeed their future. Mr. Speaker, a budget must clearly reveal priorities aligned with the needs and the aspirations of our people. It must also reflect the government's competence, discipline, and vision. But above all, Mr. Speaker, it must tell a credible story of how government intends to improve the lives of citizens. But, Mr. Speaker, the 2026 budget, despite its glossy summaries, which are captured in carefully rehearsed talking points, it tells a deeply troubling story to those who examine it. A story of financial mismanagement, underperformance, misplaced priority, selfishness, collapsing grant inflows, weakened fiscal discipline, and most obviously, Mr. Speaker, a serious disconnection of government from the daily realities of what is really happening on the ground. Mr. Speaker, how can government ministers beat their chests and declare things are happening when our people across the length and breadth of Grenada are struggling every day? Where is the conscience, Mr. Speaker? Where is the conscience? Mr. Speaker, are we expected to join the things happening celebration that does not reflect the lived reality of our people? Mr. Speaker, if you're on the ground, the average person that you speak to will tell you things are not happening for them. In these difficult times, Mr. Speaker, such a mantra, such a slogan feels painfully out of touch and deeply insensitive. Mr. Speaker, our leaders must speak to the real issues that our people are facing, not paint a picture that ignores their hardships. Mr. Speaker, the 2026 estimates of revenue and expenditure are regrettably no better than 2025 budget. Grenadians are still waiting, Mr. Speaker, for the wow factor, especially that this budget is delivered just weeks before Christmas and just weeks before the dawn of a new year. This budget, Mr. Speaker, provides no hope to the people of this country. Mr. Speaker, let us now place this current budget into proper context by first examining the realities on the ground right here at home. But Mr. Speaker, before I do that, I want to turn the pages of what the story of the average Grenadian is before we turn the pages of this budget. Mr. Speaker, families are not just struggling, they are hurting. Many cannot afford basic food items. The cost of living has become unbearable, and every trip to the supermarket feels like a painful exercise for survival. Mr. Speaker, electricity bills have skyrocketed, squeezing already stretched incomes. Many are choosing between keeping their lights on and buying medication. In Carriacou and Petit-Martinique, Mr. Speaker, families who lost everything during Hurricane Beryl are still waiting for the promised support. They are still waiting for proper shelter, as well as the assistance that they were promised. It was never delivered in so many cases. They are trying to rebuild their lives, Mr. Speaker, under tarpaulins and temporary structures, while the government congratulates itself in AC offices, singing, "Things are happening." Mr. Speaker, across the country, our roads are crumbling into symbols of poor planning, delayed action, and failed leadership. People are driving through potholes that damage their vehicles, delay ambulances, and create unnecessary inconvenience for businesses and residents in the area. The cost of this development is way too high, unnecessarily high. Mr. Speaker, unemployment continues to weigh heavily on many, especially our youth, despite the numbers reported. Many young people feel abandoned, overlooked, and excluded from the opportunities that they were promised. Many small businesses, the backbone of our economy, are struggling to survive. Even large companies, Mr. Speaker, are under pressure. The government decisions, poorly timed, poorly communicated, and poorly thought out, have pushed many to the very brink of closure. Mr. Speaker, many contractors are on their knees begging the government for outstanding payments so that they do not have to disappoint workers ahead of Christmas. Mr. Speaker, imagine this. Some contractors have been waiting over a year, in some cases far more than a year, for payments that are owed to them by the government. I imagine, Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Finance is saying, like Rootsman Kelly, "I nothing, things happening." Mr. Speaker, farmers and fishermen who feed this nation are being ignored. Some have not received a single dollar from the assistance that they were promised after Hurricane Beryl, even though government received $118 million in insurance payouts, part of which was specifically for farmers and fishermen. Mr. Speaker, as farmers continue to fight perennial larceny, high input cost, and poor market access. Mr. Speaker, our healthcare system is in crisis. While the government chases a far-fetched futuristic dream, the hospitals and clinics we depend on today are short of medication, short of basic supplies, short of staff, and short of hope. Mr. Speaker, I'm taking time to put this budget in its proper context. Mr. Speaker, these are not statistics, but these are the lived realities of our people. This is the Grenada that exists beyond the tables and the appendices and the nice words of the 2026 budget speech. Obviously, Mr. Speaker, things are not happening for the average Grenadian. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, I find this 2026 budget to be such a profound disappointment because it does not address the serious issues affecting Grenadians in this country. Mr. Speaker, people are crying out, not for a budget speech that is loaded with political rhetorics or glossy themes, but for a budget that sees them, a budget that hears them, and a budget that responds to them with urgency, empathy, and compassion. Only then, Mr. Speaker, can they honestly say things happening. Don't just try to convince them that things are happening. They want to feel that things are happening. They want to know that things are happening, especially in their pockets, as the young men would say. Mr. Speaker, only yesterday in Grenville, a small business owner said to me, and I quote, "If people cannot put food on their table, then lights and other projects make no sense." Mr. Speaker, while it is important to appreciate the local context in which this budget is presented, it is equally important to understand the regional and international landscape, factors that can significantly influence our local reality, positively and negatively. Mr. Speaker, it's with this in mind that I now turn attention to what is happening regionally and internationally as I continue to put this budget into context. Beyond Grenada, Mr. Speaker, this 2026 budget is being introduced at a time when global, regional, and geopolitical environment is more volatile than any time before in our recent memory. The uncertainties we face today are not abstract global concepts. They shape our economy, our fiscal space, and the daily lives, believe it or not, of Grenadians and Grenadian families. The IMF continues to warn that geo-economic fragmentation, rising sovereign debts, weaker global demand, and climate change poses mounting risk for global growth. At a time, Mr. Speaker, shifting trade relationships and supply chain realignments are putting pressure on small economies like ours. Let us get this into context. Mr. Speaker, what does it mean for Grenada and Grenadians? Mr. Speaker, our import of food, fuel, and basic consumer goods, our people can be affected and are being affected seriously. Added to this, Mr. Speaker, the escalating geopolitical tensions around the world continue to disrupt global markets. These conflicts are driving up fuel costs, raising shipping and insurance costs, and destabilizing commodity supply chains. Grenada is not isolated from these effects. These shocks, Mr. Speaker, influence the cost of food, transportation, and electricity, and they intensify the cost of living burdens for people. Mr. Speaker, what is happening regionally and internationally can affect our people. Mr. Speaker, we cannot ignore the unfolding situation as it relates to Venezuela. Mr. Speaker, both the internal issues and external disputes have implications for an entire hemisphere and can impact regional migration patterns, energy markets, and potential security dynamics in the Southern Caribbean. For small states like Grenada, any deterioration in regional stability can have immediate and far-reaching consequences. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, climate pressures are intensifying. In a global environment where climate-induced disasters are becoming more and more severe, the ability of a government to attract external grants, execute capital projects efficiently, and maintain strict fiscal discipline becomes not an option, it becomes essential. Yet, Mr. Speaker, despite our local realities and these regional and international storms which are gathering around us, what we see in the 2026 budget is not bold leadership, not strategic vision, not responsible governance. Indeed, we see misalignment with the needs of people and a troubling lack of fiscal coherence at a moment when Grenada cannot afford this. This budget, Mr. Speaker, does not relate and reflect the local, regional, and international context in which it is presented. Mr. Speaker, I shift focus now to look at the economic context in which this is presented. Mr. Speaker, to fully appreciate and understand the current economic realities of Grenada, we must understand the fiscal position inherited by this government and the policy posture that it took immediately after the election in the face of regional and global challenges. Mr. Speaker, when this government took office in 2022, it inherited over $500 million in reserves, a primary surplus, fiscal surplus of $84.5 million, an overall surplus of $30.4 million, strong donor confidence in grants exceeding $200 million, a stable and declining debt to GDP trajectory of 63.7%. Mr. Speaker, at that time, we were one of the strongest in terms of fiscal positions in the OECS. Mr. Speaker, it is evident that the fiscal foundation that this administration inherited was robust. But, Mr. Speaker, immediately after assuming office, this government engaged in two immediate actions. One, a spending spree, and two, a CBI drive. Mr. Speaker, in less than 2 years, the government sold more passports than the NNP administration sold over 9 years, raising more than $1 billion in revenue. And yet, Mr. Speaker, not one new investment project to show, not one significant significant job-creating initiative has been secured from the 11,583 passports sold by the NDC administration in only 2 years. Yes, Mr. Speaker, I said 11,583 passports sold in 2 years, resulting in over $1 billion in revenue. Mr. Speaker, with the Minister for Finance and the Prime Minister being beneficial owners of CBI agencies, Mr. Speaker, the people have a right to ask, where did all these monies go? But permit me to move quickly on, Mr. Speaker, to ask the people through you, have you seen any new CBI projects? Can you see where hundreds of millions of CBI revenues have gone? Mr. Speaker, Grenadians want to see evidence that the hundreds of millions generated through the CBI program are transforming this country. They want to see meaningful investment, real development, and tangible progress, Mr. Speaker. Not headlines, not slogans, not promises. They want to see real action on the ground. Because, Mr. Speaker, you know what? When we look back at the years under the new National Party's administration, CBI revenues translated into real investment, real transformation. Mr. Speaker, I would just name a few. Silver Sands Hotel, Mariposa Condominium, The Point at P.T. Calvini, Silver Sands Beach House, Six Senses Hotel, Intercontinental Resorts. Amen. Mr. Speaker, these were not PowerPoint dreams or PR speeches. These were real CBI projects that people can see today. But more importantly, created real jobs, stimulating the construction industry, generating tourism activities, and expanding our economic footprint, Mr. Speaker. Not pie in the sky. Mr. Speaker, that is why the people are asking for real jobs, real opportunities, real development, not talk without results. Mr. Speaker, despite these unprecedented inflows of revenue that kept the country afloat in 2023, the fiscal picture for 2025 and what is projected for 2026 is nothing short but alarming. Mr. Speaker, the debt to GDP moved from 63.7% in 2022 to 71.9% in 2025. Mr. Speaker, according to the medium-term fiscal report of the government, which is before this Honorable House, there's an overall deficit of negative $279.1 million, which equates to negative 6.9% of GDP for the year 2025. Mr. Speaker, arguably, this is the largest deficit in the history of Grenada, Carriacou, and Peter Martinique. You see, this government loves to talk about first, but it's interesting that they never claimed this first. Mr. Speaker, so we moved the overall surplus from $30.4 million to a deficit of $279.1 million. Sadly, Mr. Speaker, no change is on the horizon. In fact, 2026 is projected to be worse, with a deficit of $309.8 million, or negative 7.3% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, $30.4 million more than the 2025 deficit. Where are we heading? Mr. Speaker, Speaker, this means that for 2 consecutive years, this government has run an overall deficit averaging approximately $300 million per year after inheriting reserves of over $500 million in 2022. Let us look at the economic context. Very important, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is not misfortune. Mr. Speaker, this is not bad luck. This is a clear case of mismanagement of the economy. A clear case of mismanagement. While it's concerning that the government plans to borrow some $450 million to address the rising deficit, what is even more alarming is the disconnect, Mr. Speaker, between this expenditure and the actual needs of our people, as well as a seemingly intentional effort to mislead the public with a new classification of expenses. Mr. Speaker, the 2026 budget outlines 3 expenditure categories: recurrent, capital, and a new category called initiatives expenditure, with allocation, Mr. Speaker, of $1.7 billion, $370.4 million, and $206.7 million, respectively. Mr. Speaker, the introduction of a new expenditure category, initiatives, creates the impression that this government is launching a whole new portfolio of new projects and programs totaling $206.7 million. Mr. Speaker, those who know, well know. This suggests, Mr. Speaker, an investment outlay of $577.1 million. This suggests. Mr. Speaker, this is far from the truth and what is presented, Mr. Speaker, in a very skillful way, and represents an unfortunate attempt to mislead the people of this country. According to the government's own classification in Appendix C, initiative expenditure are simply recurrent expenditures disguised, we believe, as new investments. Mr. Speaker, let us be clear. Recurrent expenditure are exactly what they are, and therefore must be classified as recurrent expenditure. They do not have an end date. They are recurrent expenditure. This classification, therefore, Mr. Speaker, reveals a disturbing truth that recurrent expenditure have ballooned by $192 million. Meanwhile, Mr. Speaker, the government's capital or investment outlay has been slashed by $126 million. While this does not alter the reality of our financial challenges, Mr. Speaker, it does impact the discussion regarding the alignment of expenditures to the needs of our people. The alignment of our expenditures to the needs of our people. Mr. Speaker, in what appears to be a strategy to divert attention and create artificial excitement ahead of yet another deficit budget, and in an attempt to mask the dismal performance of an inept administration, the National Democratic Congress rolled out the Things Happening campaign. Mr. Speaker, they were so eager to convince themselves and the general public that things are happening, that they saw nothing wrong, Mr. Speaker, with using a political party platform to switch on lights for a government-funded project. Desperation, Mr. Speaker, has a way of stripping away good judgment. Mr. Speaker, the people know. Anyone, Mr. Speaker, can craft a catchy statement, a catchy slogan to influence minds. Things happening, things happening, things happening. As if to believe that the more you say it, is the more people would believe it. But the reality, Mr. Speaker, is that our people feel every single day the pressure of the rising cost of living. Our people are affected every day by the policy decisions of this government. Mr. Speaker, all I say is, who feels it, knows it. Mr. Speaker, but you know what? If someone can boldly proclaim publicly that they are set for life, while many people cannot make a trip to the supermarket, then yes, things happening, but only for a select few. Amen. As we examine the 2026 projections, Mr. Speaker, and reflect on the government's performance in 2025, we will clearly see whether things are happening and, more importantly, for whom these things are happening. I will now shift my attention, Mr. Speaker, to the sections of the budget that influence lives and livelihoods of our citizens, some of which the government emphasized in its election campaign and indeed in the last two budgets presented. Let us first look at the troubling picture of what is really happening in the health sector. Mr. Speaker, if there is one sector that truly reveals the gap between government promises and actual results, it will be healthcare. Mr. Speaker, the current state of our health system is not just disappointing, it is alarming. When government repeatedly announces big plans, big investments, big transformation, yet fails to deliver even on the basics, it is unconscionable, Mr. Speaker, to say things happening. Beat your chest, things happening. Mr. Speaker, Budget 2026 portrays a health system that is underfunded, under-resourced, while the events of 2025 tell a story of underperformance and a ministry that definitely is lacking effective leadership. Mr. Speaker, in the 2025 budget, the Minister for Finance praised the partnership with Mount Sinai. And the initiatives, of course, are stated to enhance healthcare delivery. And the table knocks, Mr. Speaker, were loud. However, Mr. Speaker, we are yet to see the expected outcomes based on the significant sums that have already been spent in these areas. However, let us look at some very critical areas in health where things don't seem to be happening. Things not happening there. Number one, upgrade of health facilities. Mr. Speaker, only 32% of that budget was utilized. Upgrade of health facility. And many of our facilities did not receive the promised upgrade. That is why I was disturbed, Mr. Speaker, in the presentation by the Minister for Finance. When we are talking about deliveries for 2025, he gives us deliveries from 2022 to 2025. You know, like everybody's stupid. Everybody lacks common sense. At this rate, Mr. Speaker, it will take a decade to upgrade our clinics and health centers based on the speed at which this is being done and the promise given. Clearly, Mr. Speaker, something needs to happen there. 2, hospital quality improvement project and training. Mr. Speaker, a staggering 48% of funding remain unspent in this area. This is a critical area of the health sector. And despite the available funds, Mr. Speaker, nothing significant has happened there, Mr. Speaker. 3, school health program. Mr. Speaker, not a single dollar was spent on this essential project, which is aimed at safeguarding our children's health. This is unacceptable. Something needs to happen. 4, National Non-Communicable Disease Control Program. Mr. Speaker, a mere 16% of allocated funds were used. While our senior citizens continue to suffer from preventable diseases due to inconsistent access to medications and monitoring services, it is clear something needs to happen. 5, strengthening the healthcare sector. Mr. Speaker, just 42% of budget was spent on health sector strengthening under this line item. Another vital program designed to meet the needs of our communities. 6, equipment. Mr. Speaker, the Minister for Finance stated that the government has purchased critical life-saving equipment for the hospital system. However, the estimates, Mr. Speaker, prepared by the minister himself, reveal that less than 1% of the equipment budget was utilized. It almost seems as though, Mr. Speaker, that the minister has forgotten what his own estimates reflected. So we're not talking about what you plan to do and what you let us talk about the budget, what the budget says. Mr. Speaker, the notion is clear. The notion is clear. Mr. Speaker, let us see what needs to happen elsewhere. Mr. Speaker, over 15,000 new HIV infections reported in the region in recent years, while concerns about data collection in Grenada is mounting. Serious concerns, lack of data. In response to these pressing issues, the government budgeted a mere 3% for a strategic response program in 2025. While little progress has been made to strengthen critical areas of healthcare, Mr. Speaker, it is clear that in other places things are happening, and things are happening for some people. Mr. Speaker, imagine this. While underspending in almost every area of healthcare, all critical areas, I can safely say, Mr. Speaker, while this is the case, $22 million was spent in 2025 on the so-called teaching hospital, even before the sod turning ceremony and the first brick is laid. $22 million. Mr. Speaker, this proposed hospital, let's get this clear, this proposed hospital will not happen during the lifetime of this administration. And furthermore, it is not a priority for the people of this country based on the current situation. This is just another lofty dream, another pie in the sky, not real healthcare solution that people need right now. I consider this, Mr. Speaker, a solution apparently to make things happen for some people. Mr. Speaker, additionally, millions were spent on special projects and contracts for which we must ask the question, who are the beneficiaries of these millions of dollars in special contracts? We are still lacking key specialists at the General Hospital. Could they have contracted some of these specialists for the millions of dollars already spent on Project Polaris? I'm asking for the people, Mr. Speaker. As we look forward to 2026 and the developments in healthcare, can you imagine, after all that I've said, Mr. Speaker, that funding has been further cut by $22 million, with significant reductions in essential areas as supplies, equipment, and maintenance. Mr. Speaker, the areas where the people need health care most. Can you imagine this? Yet, Mr. Speaker, while $22 million is being removed from health care, an additional $67 million was added to the Office of the Prime Minister for distribution among CBI allies. It's time, Mr. Speaker, that we demand meaningful change that significantly benefits our citizens, not tokenism. Question is, why move it to that vote? These decisions, Mr. Speaker, to enhance funding under the Prime Minister's ministry, particularly with a focus on CBI programs, suggests, Mr. Speaker, that this administration is more invested in catering for the affluent individuals and foreign investors than addressing the real issues that are affecting ordinary citizens. Mr. Speaker, while many families struggle to access basic health care services, critical upgrades to health facilities remain stalled, and vital health programs go underfunded. This substantial investment, Mr. Speaker, in a selected group highlights a disparity that cannot be ignored. It explains why, Mr. Speaker, the Minister for Finance could not report on the mere achievements of 2025, but had to go all the way back the last 3.5 years. Mr. Speaker, before I complete health, I will address the commitment to regularize workers with the stroke of a pen. Mr. Speaker, it is obvious that regularization is no longer carried out by the Public Service Commission as constitutionally mandated. Instead, this government is implementing a form of regularization that relies on contract. Very strange, very strange. Mr. Speaker, it's not just strange, it is deceptive. Mr. Speaker, health workers deserve specific mention in this regard, considering the impending statutorization of that ministry. These workers, Mr. Speaker, have already been denied the 1958 pension, which was promised by this government and sanctioned by the court ruling that the NNP administration accepted without appeal. Instead, what was provided was a national savings plan operating as a pension plan, one that currently offers no guaranteed minimum pension for the rest of a worker's retired life. This new pension arrangement, Mr. Speaker, must be revisited. And I give the commitment, Mr. Speaker, that it will be revisited by a new National Party administration, specifically in the context of the court ruling, the tenure of workers, and the Constitution. Otherwise, as the Minister for Finance said when he was speaking, far likely these persons on the SUSU pension will indeed end up on the SEED program. Mr. Speaker, while these workers remain under contracted regularization, I have a few questions for the government. What will happen to their security of tenure as they transition into this new arrangement? How is the government planning to address their benefits, Mr. Speaker? More questions than answers. But I must now move to see what's happening in social development. Mr. Speaker, social development is the cornerstone of a compassionate nation. It encompasses the ministry's responsibility for elderly, children, differently abled individuals and youth at risk, and vulnerable families. Mr. Speaker, these are people who depend on the government and the government programs for their very survival in many cases. Mr. Speaker, in the 2025 budget, the minister proclaimed the government's commitment to building a robust social protection system. Nice words. However, Mr. Speaker, it is essential to assess the truthfulness of this claim. Mr. Speaker, when we examine the capital program under social development in 2025, what we find is not a story of compassion and progress, but a troubling narrative of systemic failures, unfulfilled promises, and disappointing results. The numbers reveal a stark reality. Let's review a few alarming examples. 1, support for disabled persons. This was identified as a key initiative in 2025. Mr. Speaker, only 38% of the budget allocated for the disabled community was utilized, leaving many individuals without the mobility aid that they need, therapy services, accessible facilities, and essential support that they desperately need. That was referred to, Mr. Speaker, as a key initiative in 2025. 2, Early Child Development Program. Mr. Speaker, this vital initiative, which provides structured daycare and educational services for children, received an astounding investment of less than 1% in 2025. Troubling. 3, the Awakening special potential in restoration and empowerment. So, Speaker, so many names. You're getting tied up with the names. The Awakening Special Potential in Restoration and Empowerment Program. Let me get it right. Designed to uplift vulnerable individuals. This program saw a mere 6% of its allocation budgeted invested. Mr. Speaker, what is truly happening? What is happening? 4, support for victims of domestic violence and child care program. Another critical area of 2025. Mr. Speaker, only 20% of the funds earmarked for this critical service were used, indicating a clear lack of investment in the safety and well-being of our families. Mr. Speaker, but what is troubling for me, what is concerning, is that while the government has not adequately supported these vulnerable communities in 2025, it seeks to pursue legislation that would allow minors to make adult decisions about their sexuality without parental involvement. Where is the priority? Rather than reinforcing the protection of our children who need that protection urgently. The same children, Mr. Speaker, they said are in crisis and need this legislation. Look at the spending on these same children. Mr. Speaker, we strongly urge, as we've done before, this administration to not bring this bill back to this Parliament. Mr. Speaker, as we look towards 2026, the outlook does not seem to improve since the budget for social services has been slashed by a troubling $16 million. Now let's look at the contrast, Mr. Speaker. Let us look at the contrast. While assistance for vulnerable communities wanes, we see millions, Mr. Speaker, squandered on first-class travel and extravagant accommodation for our Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's travel budget astonishingly exceeded its allocation by 45% in 2025. While the people of Grenada are left to cover the costs, Mr. Speaker, for his constant traveling companions, like his personal photographer, his chief of staff, his executive secretary. Mr. Speaker, this excessive spending highlights a blatant disregard for the pressing needs of the citizens of this country. Mr. Speaker, this disparity does not just demonstrate selfishness. It illustrates, Mr. Speaker, that things are indeed happening. Not for the majority, Mr. Speaker, but for the privileged few at the expense of the masses. Just look at where the monies are going in this budget, and you understand where the priorities of this government lies. Mr. Speaker, I now shift my attention to what is happening in housing. Mr. Speaker, things happening, but is what? What is happening? Mr. Speaker, during our electoral campaign, this government pledged to deliver 500 Grenadian-style houses every year. I mean, they could have just said 500 houses, but, they love nice words. 500 Grenadian style. I don't even know what's our style. Regrettably, Mr. Speaker, this commitment has morphed into Project 500, which predominantly features a prefabricated housing solution that is definitely not our style. So I'm not sure what our style is, but I know it is definitely not prefab houses. That's not our style. Mr. Speaker, to date, a staggering $17 million has already been spent on Project 500. Mr. Speaker, despite this enormous investment, only a few units, and I'm saying a few because I'm sure it's not more than 5, has been completed. Mr. Speaker, if we have our math right, we should be on 1,500 houses based on the promise of this administration. Mr. Speaker, 17 million spent with about 17 sample units under construction is not progress. Mr. Speaker, this is a serious red flag. That's not progress. What this reveals, Mr. Speaker, is not a housing revolution, but a project that shows very little in what it has achieved. Mr. Speaker, very little to show, large amount spent. And quite frankly, Mr. Speaker, it raises serious questions about where the money is going and who is seriously benefiting. Because what we are seeing, Mr. Speaker, is a pattern. Indeed, some things are happening, but for some people, opportunities and contracts consistently flow to a small, well-connected circle that is close to the seat of power, while ordinary families continue to struggle without proper housing. Things happening. This is not strategic development. This is not value for money, Mr. Speaker, and it's definitely not transformation, as the people know it. This, Mr. Speaker, is a cause for serious concern. The previous administration made significant strides by leaving behind 600 housing units, yet many of these remain unoccupied 3.5 years later. Mr. Speaker, the housing crisis faced by our citizens intensified following Hurricane Beryl. And now we see a troubling reduction of $12 million proposed for housing in the 2026 budget. So, Speaker, this has been a depressing exercise, to say the least. Mr. Speaker, I must here draw special attention to the residents of Karakou and Pitimatnik. Mr. Speaker, they have suffered immense property damage as a result of the passage of Hurricane Beryl. According, Mr. Speaker, to the budget report spanning 2024 to present, expenditures have reached an astonishing $215 million. Yet we are still awaiting the realization of the 200 houses for St. Patrick and the significantly higher numbers for Karakou and Pitimatnik. Mr. Speaker, it is disheartening to witness families in Karakou and Pitimatnik leaving without adequate housing, as fewer than 50 build-back better houses have been handed over to date. Mr. Speaker, the promise to deliver only 100 build-back better houses by December 2024. Imagine, Mr. Speaker, we have not even crossed half of what was supposed to be completed by 2024. So now we should have been, Mr. Speaker, over 200, 300. We are still under 50, but things happening. Moreover, Mr. Speaker, local hardware suppliers continue to face unpaid debts, and there is rising trouble, Mr. Speaker, as many of them try to stay afloat. Mr. Speaker, troubling questions about the fiscal management of the Build Back Better program, not just by the opposition, Mr. Speaker. This House knows that serious questions have been raised. Mr. Speaker, the Minister for Finance and Housing have lamented the incompetence and corruption associated with this initiative and things happening in the communities, citing instances of incomplete homes where contractors have walked out with full payment, allocation made to individuals without previous housing. Mr. Speaker, contracts given to persons with absolutely no skill in construction, and the retraction of materials from those who dare to voice their concerns about the corrupt activities. Mr. Speaker, while corruption persists within the government housing programs, budget reduction means that the less fortunate among us should not expect far more than what was done in 2025. Mr. Speaker, as with low-income housing, citizens would need to interact with financial institutions to navigate their challenges, Mr. Speaker. What a sad story of housing. Sad story of what's happening. We now turn our attention to education. Mr. Speaker, education is still the bedrock of national development. It is the single greatest tool for breaking cycles of poverty, building human capital, and preparing a nation to compete in a rapidly evolving global economy. Yet, Mr. Speaker, in 2026, estimate presents a troubling picture, not of progress, but of mismanagement, underperformance, and introduction of policies that sounds good in speeches but fail our families on the ground. Mr. Speaker, let us confront the realities on the ground so we better understand the context of this statement. Parents are struggling more and more every day to keep their children in school as transportation costs, uniform, equipment, material, and supplies costs continues to rise. Students at Tamsisi, students at Nulo, Mr. Speaker, some drop out, not because of lack of talent and ambition, at a time when education is free. Mr. Speaker, but they cannot afford the hidden cost of education. Mr. Speaker, at-risk youth are becoming more disconnected from the education system, as seen in the increasing gambling among minors, school violence, absenteeism, and declining participation in technical programs. Mr. Speaker, teachers are overwhelmed and over-resourced, Mr. Speaker. Many classrooms lack the basic teaching materials, and the complaints go on and on and on when it is better. Mr. Speaker, stakeholders are complaining about the school maintenance program, the lack of accountability, millions spent, the lack of accountability. Stakeholders are complaining, Mr. Speaker, about the school feeding program, but we're knocking the table in here. The school feeding program and the subsidy program. Checks are paid in some cases 4 months late, and schools have to find the resources to continue to feed children. Some cases they do their best, bread. Mr. Speaker, even teachers, as related by teachers themselves and principals, consistently paid late, while special anointed contractors are paid in advance. You just have to be close to the seat of power, and you can get your payments in advance.
Amen.
Mr. Speaker, while the government speak about free tuition and expanding opportunities for students, the lived experience of students, parents, and teachers, even principals, tell a different story. And when, Mr. Speaker, we turn to the 2025 estimates, the truth becomes even clearer. As you look at 2026, education is not being managed effectively. Programs continue to underperform as the government continues to push new policies without the necessary consultation with stakeholders. Without putting the proper systems and structures in place, they continue to tick the boxes. Let us take a closer look, Mr. Speaker, at what is happening in education and some of what was referred to in 2025 as the major transformational projects of education. 1, National Innovative Skills Enhancement Program, NICE.
Nice words.
Mr. Speaker, despite its attractive title, NICE is really a repackaged project. Mr. Speaker, this project received $3 million in the 2025 budget, but only 28% was actually spent. 28%. How can we boast? How can we knock the tables, Mr. Speaker, about this as an achievement?
It's happening.
How can we say things are happening when we refer to this project? How can we truly prepare young people for a modern workforce when the very program designed to skill and reskill them is largely untouched? This is yet a case, another case, of nice words, Mr. Speaker, very little action. 2, the Grenada Education Enhancement Program, GEEP. Mr. Speaker, this program also reflects poor execution. Yes, we hear periodically those announcements of things happening with school construction. St. Andrew's Anglican Primary School, St. David's Catholic Secondary School, Grenada Christian Academy, etc., etc., etc. But, Mr. Speaker, let us be honest, at least with ourselves. Every one of these projects were inherited by the NDC administration. They started under NNP. And I know, Mr. Speaker, that someone would be brave enough to come here to tell me, Mr. Speaker, that that is not true, because construction of the St. David's Catholic Secondary School did not start under NNP. Mr. Speaker, I can tell you I walked the land, because it was a struggle to find lands for this project. We secured the lands for this project. We engaged CDB. CDB was supposed to be here in Grenada before the last election to launch that phase of this program, Mr. Speaker. So I'm saying with all confidence, they are all inherited projects of the end. Mr. Speaker, is this underperformance or is it mismanagement? Remember, Mr. Speaker, this administration said things were happening too slow. So they came with a brilliant idea. They came to set a new implementation record. What we are experiencing, Mr. Speaker, right now is not just slow implementation, but significant cost overrun, costing the taxpayers of this country. Number 3, we're still on the projects, significant projects under education. TVET Enhancement and Expansion Program. Mr. Speaker, in 2025, in the budget speech, the Minister for Finance assured the nation that the government would transform technical and vocational education in 2025 by strengthening TVET programs and establishing TVET centers throughout Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit-Martinique. Well, let me take this back. I don't recall if he said Carriacou and Petit-Martinique, in Grenada. But the result, Mr. Speaker, tells a different story. Mr. Speaker, only 20% of the TVET budget was spent. No new skills centers were constructed, not even started. And the ones that were to be upgraded remained stagnant. They were projects under the new National Party administration. Students continue to lack tools and materials. Instructors operate with insufficient resources. Where is the implementation? Where is the transformation? Mr. Speaker, and I ask also, where is the Ministry of MIT in all of this? Mr. Speaker, in both the 2024 and the 2025 budget, the government boldly declared nothing happened in the area of skills training before they took office. They used this narrative, Mr. Speaker, to justify promises of sweeping transformation and allocation of significant funds in the last 2 budgets to fix what they called a broken system. But today, Mr. Speaker, I can confidently, without a shadow of a doubt, say that nothing significant has happened in skills training since this administration took office compared to what has happened under the NNP administration. Mr. Speaker, despite all the loud declarations, despite the big speeches, despite all the allocations in the past 2 estimates, the results are missing. The outcomes are invisible. And the promises remain exactly what they are, promises. Mr. Speaker, you cannot proudly pound the table year after year about what you intend to do when almost after 3 years, you have not scratched the surface in any significant way. No real transformation as you have promised. We didn't ask you to do anything. You promised what you're going to do. Mr. Speaker, before 2022, and I want to share what is described as nothing, and I wish we'll have more of that happening right now.
Classic Radio 105.5. GBN TV, Channel 7, Channel 11, and Channel 20. That's what we're going to take a wrap for today's edition of To The Point. As mentioned in the intro, of course, we should have it's Opposition Tuesday today on today's program, but of course, the opposition requested that, of course, we play the opposition leader's response to the 2026 budget. So, of course, we will have the second half of the presentation will be on next week's edition of To The Point, Opposition Tuesday next week. All right. So, thank you for being part of today's edition. Don't forget, coming up just around 10:30 this morning, we have the Mid-Morning Magic. Myself and, of course, Tanti Sherms will be here for you. Stay with us, folks. It's To The Point. Of course, that's where we wrap up To The Point this morning. Will, of course, join me again. Have a good one, folks.